Hello, creative friends. This is Joy. This week I have an art journal page that I decided to do on my word of the year. This particular video is a little bit longer than I prefer because there's a lot of steps in creating this particular art journal page. So the first thing that I decided to do is to take a piece of paper from my journal, fold it in half, and then trace out a simple shape of a butterfly and then cut that out as you see me doing here. So my word of the year is release, and I thought about this for quite a bit, and I decided that I wanted a word that helped me kind of let go of a lot of negativity and insecurities and things like that in my life. So once I cut out the butterfly, I folded it the way that I had envisioned folding it in in my head, and then trimmed the bottom because I wanted this to be like an oval shape, and you'll see why here in a little bit. And after I decided on what my word of the year would be, which is release, I thought about, okay, how would I portray that in an art journal page? And the butterfly seems to be a symbol of renewal, and I felt like that, releasing all of negativity and self-consciousness and all of that would, result in like a renewal of the spirit. And so that's why I decided to use the symbol of the butterfly on my art journal page. So the first thing I wanted to do is get some color on the page, which you see me doing here with some watercolor paints. I sprayed the page with water to help make the paint flow more smoothly. And then I wanted to do some kind of a background for my butterfly. So I had this stencil with butterflies that I decided to spray onto my art journal page so that I could get some, images of butterflies in the background. And then once I got that on my page, I have this other stencil that looks like flowers, I guess you could say, that I also wanted to use to decorate my background. So as you see me doing here, I just take a pencil and I'm kind of marking out the outline or tracing the flower onto my journal page, but of course avoiding the flowers and the butterflies that I had previously sprayed on this page. And so once I get that traced on there, and I do this in sections, I do it across the top and then down the sides and across the bottom. And once I do that, I get my paints out, and they ended up that these paints are kind of getting thick and dried out, so I really probably need to use them up. But anyway, I just sprayed water in there to help loosen them up a bit, and I had to periodically spray water in there to get the paint to soften up and loosen up a little bit. But I just take a paintbrush, as you see me here doing here, and kind of go around inside of the design that I traced on here onto my art journal page, avoiding and painting around like the butterfly and the flowers. And you'll see me here in a second. I kind of jump ahead because it's the same process that I do on the whole page. And this took me a little bit of time, but I didn't mind because I really liked, the effect that it was giving me on the page. It was giving me the, effect of a background that I was looking for. So here I'm finishing up the last bit on the bottom of the page, and I avoided the center because that's where I plan to place my butterfly on this page. And again, I just wanted to kind of have some kind of a background for my butterfly so that when I put him on the page, it's just not like a plain background. And so I thought this would be really cute with the butterflies and the flowers on this particular art journal page. And I really do like the way that the art journal page turned out. It turned out really cute in the end. And like I said, it took me some time and there's quite a few steps to it, but I was really enjoying just the process and creating this art journal page. So once I get that done, I decided to paint my butterfly. So I pull out some of this tan colored paint. Don't have much left of it, so I'll have to probably get some more. And I just paint up to where I plan to fold the butterfly, because the center part is where it'll be glued onto my page, so there was no need to paint the center part. So that's what I'm doing here, is just getting that color on the butterfly, and then once I'm get that painted, I dry that, which you'll see here in just a minute, and then I turn it over and I decide to paint the inside with orange. The shapes of the wings isn't exactly like a monarch, but I love the color of the monarch and decided that I wanted to kind of use those same colors and markings as the monarch. And of course I put out way too much paint, so I'm trying to put some of it back in the jar. But the other side I completely paint the whole thing with orange. I just figured it'd be easier just to paint the whole thing orange and then paint the design on top of it. So that's what I do here, and then I dry this. And then while that is drying, I pull out a piece of deli paper, and I decided to write my word on the deli paper because I figured it would be easier to have it on deli paper and then put it on my page, and that way I can position it and put it where I want to, and hopefully that way I'd avoid any kind of mistakes of any kind. So it just makes life so much easier just to do it on deli paper and then adhere it after the fact. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just using a Sharpie to trace over my letters on the deli paper and get it to looking the way that I wanted it to look. And I kind of wanted to give it a somewhat of a calligraphy kind of look. I mean, my handwriting's just atrocious, but I'm trying to get better and use it more on my art journal pages. So that's what I was doing here. So after that, here you see me. I took my pencil and I'm just trying to trace out the markings on this butterfly so I have an idea of how I'm going to, paint this butterfly, and, how the markings are going to be. Again, this isn't exactly the shape of a monarch. It's close enough, but I really like the colors and the patterns and stuff, and so I decided to paint it similar to the monarch. And I guess I could have went ahead and made the bottom part of the wings more rounded, but I think it turned out fine. And actually, like I said, in the end, the final journal page I was really pleased with. So I was really happy with the way it turned out. So I'm looking, I have actually this little sticker book where I'm using it as a reference of a monarch that's on the cover there to try to, somewhat get the shapes and everything on this butterfly that I wanted to, how I want to paint it. And once I get that all drawn out, I decide to do it in black acrylic paint. And there I'm trying to give the body more shape. I just kind of did like an oval and then decided, well, it really should have a little bit of a different shape. So I just pull out some black acrylic paint. And at first I was thinking, oh, I'll just trace around all my lines with a Sharpie, but I was like, that's just too much work. So I switched from that. I'm like, forget that. Let's just go with the paint. So here I use the paint and I just paint around all of my markings on the butterfly. And you'll see me jump ahead on this too, because again, this took me some time, but again, it was well worth it. And I was just, enjoying the process of, you know, painting the butterfly and creating this art journal page. It's been a while since I've created an art journal page, and so I was just having a lot of fun with this one. And here I show how I go and I just trace the markings on the wings that I had, put on here, and then paint black around all of that and around the edges. I used a thinner brush to do the detail work as you see me here, and then I use a little bit bigger brush to help fill in the bigger areas more quickly. So here I'm just tracing around to get around the details, and then using a little bit bigger brush to quickly fill in around those areas with the black and all the way off the edge of the wings. And so there is the butterfly after I'm done painting that side. Then I go to the other side and I just want a thin line of black around the outer edges of the wings. So that's what you see me doing here with the black. I'm just tracing around the outer edges of the wings. Taking a sip of my tea this morning. It's very early and everybody's still sleeping, but this is the only time I can actually do my narrating these days now that I have my granddaughter living with me. And then I use the thinner liner brush to kind of put lines across and kind of do like a pattern on the back of the wings. And I do this on both sides. So once I'm done with that, I felt like that the butterfly was kind of flat and it just needed something. So I got these Ranger, what are they? They're like a metallic kind of paint that I decided I wanted to use on the butterfly. That way it would give it, a little more sparkle and whatnot. And plus there was some other little details. I was going to use acrylic paint, but decided no, this would really be pretty. And so I used that for all of the little details around the edges of the wings. And then I decided it needed more sparkle, and because it was still kind of flat, so I grabbed a gold gel pen, and I'm just tracing around those areas with the gel pen. And I kind of like that, but then I felt like that it still needed some more. So then I tried to add a little bit around the edges of those shapes on the wings, but it wasn't really exactly the look I was, going for. So then I grabbed some gold metallic paint that I had. This is acrylic metallic paint, and used that to kind of put some shimmer and a little bit a different highlight, I guess you would say, around the edges of the wings to give it some shimmer and, some sparkle there. So that's what I do on the wings in these different shapes. And I do it on the bottom too. I do just try to kind of do it on the top edges of each of these shapes. And I kind of went over the black part a little bit, which I did touch up. I don't think I showed that part where I touched it up, but I did go back and touch up some of the black where I kind of went over it. And so here I'm just showing how I kind of do just the top of it and a little bit on this, side of it to try to give the wings a little more sparkle. And I do this on both sides, of course, you know. And I do go back over those little shapes at the top, the orange shapes, and add a little bit more of this to those shapes at the top as well. I probably should have like just jumped forward or jumped ahead on this, but I do finish this off and really like the way it turned out. So once I'm done with my butterfly, I fold it up and get some heavy bond glue and put it all over the back of the butterfly where I want to glue it down to my page, and then just use my finger. I just want to get a really good coverage on the back of the butterfly to make sure that everything is covered well all the way to the edges of my folds. So that's what I'm doing here. And I got so into working on the page, and I position it and make sure it's adhered down really good, that my camera ended up turning off on me, and I didn't realize it, but you won't miss much. It's basically just me using some gel medium to put the word on my butterfly, which you'll see here in a minute. So I decided to take my Sharpie pen because I kind of like wanted to trace around the elements while that's drying, the elements on the background. And so that's what I'm doing here. I just grab my Sharpie pen and kind of start tracing around everything. And I don't try to be too particular or precise. I mean, it's actually kind of scratchy, and I kind of like that look. And you'll see here a couple of places where I actually, on purpose, kind of make it scratchy. But that's what I do. What I'm doing here is just tracing everything with the black Sharpie pen. And I'm going back over again, making some areas more scratchy looking. And my idea here was that, and I put the little antennas on his head. And of course, they ended up being not the same, but I end up trying to fix that a little bit here. And here's where, like, my camera turned off, but I just used gel medium to put my word on the butterfly, and then I went over it again with a Posca paint marker because it wasn't standing out as much as I wanted it to. So I used that, and then I used the white to kind of trace it to help it stand out more because it was still kind of losing the word in the butterfly here. So I do end up using my white to kind of outline it. I want to make sure that was dry though. To help it like just stand out more. But my idea for this butterfly was when it's closed, it looks like a cocoon, like the butterfly in the cocoon. And then, you open it up and you have the butterfly that's released from the cocoon. So that was my concept and idea for this art journal page. So yeah, I try to fix those antennas by using that white on the antennas a little bit to try to help it look a little more even. And then I put the year And then I use the white around the body just to kind of help it stand out more and give it a little bit more shape and definition, I guess you could say. And then I decided that, the flowers on the background needed a little something, so I used that same Ranger metallic paint to add like little dots to the insides of the flowers on the background. So that's what I'm doing here, adding the little flowers, or the little dots to the centers of the flowers. And that way it gives the background a little bit of extra sparkle too, and helps tie it in with my butterfly. And then I decide to get some acrylic metallic paint and add a little bit more to the outside the cocoon part because it was kind of flat. So that's what I'm doing here, just across the top, and then I do along the edge. And here's where I'm finishing that part up. So this is pretty much my art journal page for today and my word of the year. I really like the way this page turned out. If you like it, you can give me a thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel if you want to see more, or you can leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. I really enjoy doing these art journal pages and these videos and share my art with everyone. I'm not affiliated with any products, so I just do this, for the love of art and, just to have fun and have someone out there to share my art with. And so I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we will talk to you again later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.